So I've been thinking recently that wages in football are just ridiculous. They're too high, far too high. In the Premier League, Alexis Sanchez is being paid £350,000 per week. In the UK, towards the north, you could buy a massive house for that every single week of the year. How is that fair when there's nurses and doctors and people in the army protecting their country getting paid nowhere near that amount per year, when Alexis Sanchez is getting paid that amount times by 12 or whatever for every week that he plays football? That is insane, and I don't think that is right at all. So what I'm going to do in this FIFA 18 experiment is put a wage cap of £90,000, taking out 65 key players in the Premier League, leveling the playing field so that this season I'm going to simulate should be incredibly interesting. Any team in theory could win it based on the quality of the teams that have now, been left with. So what will happen? It will be very interesting. I'm excited. I want to see the results, and I'm sure you do as well. So let's get into the experiment. I've actually got the players on the screen that I've taken out in the white text with the black background, so you can see. If you want to pause it and look at some of the players and find out who's actually left, so you can kind of work out who's still there, then do so. But I've also shown you the top 11 or the starting 11 for each club in the Premier League, so you get an idea of what's going on. Then we'll see who wins the Premier League after the full season, and we'll see the cups, and we'll see the player stats at the end as well. But make sure you hit that like button if you want to see more videos like this, and comment your suggestions down below if you have any interesting ideas. Anyway, let's get into it. At the halfway point in the season, Stoke City are top by 6 points. Everton, Burnley, Leicester City make up the rest of the top 4. Spurs in 5th, not too bad, but not that great either. Manchester United down in 7th place, a bit of a shock for them, outside of a top 5 after 19 games. But what's even more of a shock is that Man City are in 13th place, the team that is currently running away with the Premier League in real life, and they're pretty much guaranteed to win it now. They're struggling. Brighton, Newcastle United, Huddersfield, they're all newly promoted sides who are doing okay. They're surviving relegation so far, but they've got a relegation battle on their hands for the next 19 games. Liverpool and Arsenal also joined them in the relegation battle, doing very, very poor. But then you got West Brom 19th, okay, that's not too bad. But Chelsea are 20th place, only 12 points. They've only won one game. And for Chelsea, that is very, very poor. They have lost Courtois, Giroud, Cahill, Louise, Azpilicueta, Bakayoko, Drinkwater, Fabregas, Kante, Hazard, Willian, Pedro and Morata. But still, come on. 20th place for Chelsea. I was not expecting that, and they have a mountain to climb if they ever want to stay in the Premier League for next season. So in the FA Cup, Liverpool, who did quite poor in the first half of the season, do very well domestically in the Cup. 3-2 to them against Manchester United. They beat Swansea 2-0, Hull City 4-0 and Sheffield Wednesday 2-0. But in the Carabao Cup, Manchester United win it 2-1, so they were runners-up in the final of the FA Cup, and then they got to the final of the Carabao Cup and were crowned champions. They beat Leicester City 3-2, they beat Bournemouth 3-1 and Brighton 2-1 to get to the final, so it's quite an easy running up to the final there. Then in the Champions League, Manchester United, they get through the round of 16 but then struggle against Juventus, 4-1 loss there, and Spurs lose Juventus 4-2 in the round of 16, with Man City losing to Atletico Madrid in the round of 16 2-1. In the Europa League, literally no Premier League team is in the round of 16, so quite a poor showing from those teams. In the Premier League, after 38 games now, Stoke City absolutely dominate. 15 points clear at the top of the table, ahead of Manchester United, who are ahead of Man City. Get in there. 1 point ahead of them. Burnley into the top 4, Leicester City in 5th. Quite a few mid-table teams around the top 5-ish spots, like close to it, but Liverpool have a great recovery and come 6th. And then you've got Brighton doing very well in 10th, Spurs dropping down to 11th, Arsenal picking up a little bit and coming 14th, avoiding relegation. Newcastle and Huddersfield, the other two newly promoted sides, doing quite well as well. Well, they've avoided relegation, which is good. But then, West Brom and Crystal Palace, you know what, that's not too bad, we can deal with that. That seems kind of realistic, it could happen. But then Chelsea, bottom of the Premier League, with 30 points. I mean, come on Chelsea, what you doing? Come on, what are you playing at? 30 points. Like, you've lost a few key players. I understand that. You have lost, you know, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 key players, I think, there. So that's pretty poor. But still, what are you playing at? You're not doing a good job. But in the top scorers, Shaqiri, 17 goals. He's a top scorer. But 17 goals isn't really that much. I was expecting maybe 20 odd goals. But no, Shaqiri, he's not even a striker actually, he's more of a winger, isn't he? But he gets 17 goals. Antonio and Mane Martial, second place, joint second place actually, with 16. Jesus with 15. Lanzini on 14. Eriksen on 13. King on 12. The rest of them are on 11 in the top 15. But then, in the assists, Lanzini is top 10 assists. He's had a great season for West Ham United. De La Feu with 9. Allen with 8. Ali with 7, the rest on 6, and Lallana at the bottom with 5. Clean sheets, Butland mugs everyone off, 4 ahead of Pickford, 5 ahead of Schmeichel, Forster and Karius, and then you got quite a few on 9, if you're on 8, 6 and 5 at the bottom with Foster. So overall, that has been the end of this FIFA 18 experiment, and I hope you enjoyed it. We've realised that if you take out some of the key players, you get a very, very different result. And Stoke City, maybe they're much better than you think. I think they seem to look bad in the Premier League sometimes because they are coming up against world-class players. You've got Aguero, Sanchez, Pogba, all these players on such a high wage that Stoke can't compete with, and it just means that some of these teams in the bottom or the mid-table area just have absolutely no chance. So you have to have like a massive owner coming in who would be willing to spend lots of money in order to be able to get into the top 4 ever. So it's quite sad that some of these teams may never ever get there. But if you're a fan of any of the clubs, you're going to believe that. You're going to hope one day that you're going to get there. And maybe one day Stoke City will do what they did today and they may win the Premier League by 15 points. But that just explains what's happened really. You know, it is much different. And it does hinder some teams, especially towards the top, if they were to not, well, if they were to lose those players, because in theory, if they can't pay their wages that they're getting now in real life, they would not be able to attract these players in the first place. So if the Premier League had a massive wage cap, a lot of the world-class players in the world probably wouldn't come, which may ruin the entertainment factor of it. But I still don't think it's fair that these players can get that much money every single week, even if they're injured. I think that's just unfair. So, in my opinion, it just should not happen. I think the wages need to be much lower. There has to be a wage cap so other teams in the Premier League can compete to make the league more interesting. Otherwise, you always have the top few teams at the top, and you have time here and there, you get a Man City dominating too much. Anyway, guys, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one. After you have liked this video, subscribed, and you've rung the bell, so you can get notified when he uploads my next video. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.